Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to the Operation and Public Safety Committee. Today is Tuesday, April 19th. We're going to get started here. I'm going to ask Melissa, forgive me. Roll call, please.
Council President Boyce.
Here.
Councilmember Fincher.
Here.
Councilmember Kerr.
Here.
Councilmember Larmer.
Here.
Councilmember Michaud.
Here.
Councilmember Thomas.
Here.
And Councilmember Troutner.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We've got 5 items tonight to go through on our Operation Public Safety meeting. So we're going to move on to item number 3, request for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second in discussion. Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record show unanimous pass. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 4, business here. And the first thing is A, motion for approval of the April 5th minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. In a discussion. Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record show unanimous pass. We'll move on to item 4B, payment of the bills. Have a motion, please.
Mr. Chair, I move a payment of the bills be approved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record show unanimous pass. We're going to move on to item number C, FlexFund, ARPA Fund Grant Agreement with National Development Council. Mr. Bill Ellis.
The Flex Fund for $1.65 million, and of course, sorry, Kim, I'm going to ask that you advance the slide as this one might be having a battery issue, but oh, there we go. Okay, there. As I was saying, ask authorize 1.65 million investment in the Flex Fund. You had a presentation on this well back in August of 2021. That was prior to the final rule issue from the U.S. Treasury on the use of ARPA dollars, or American Recovery Act monies. And those final rules came out in January, which has caused us to pivot a little bit in how we were thinking about a contribution to the Flex Fund. But the Flex Fund, for those just who do not recall or maybe want a brief refresher on what it was and what it does, is a collaboration of several CDFIs, or community development financial institutions in this state. They received funding initially not from American Recovery Act dollars, from the Department of Commerce, and they're doing what CDFIs generally do, which is they try to take public monies and then leverage that to get additional private monies to make lending to underserved populations. Business owners in particular from minority and women-owned business backgrounds who are underserved by traditional lending. And what we're asking for authorization here today is a contract that we've worked with National Development Council as the fund manager amongst all of the CDFIs in that collaboration to enable lending. Since we first had that presentation from Chuck DePew from the National Development Council here at Council in August of 2021, it's won an award. It won an award. That's how long it's been. And it's been open for a while with the funding that it already had from the Washington Economic Development Association. The Flex Fund has been performing at a rate of conversion. That means the number of applications to the loans given well in advance of what is received, what is nationally done. What you would see in other states is maybe a conversion rate of 1 in 18. California and New York, which coincidentally, National Development Council does consulting to those states as well, have a rate of about 1 to 12. And that's what you're seeing here in the state of Washington, about 1 per 11.9. It's even a better conversion rate so far in the city of Kent. So as the slide shows there, we're just, the CDFI community is a national best practice to invest with them because they're sort of the front line investment institutions that are working with underserved populations to get them access to capital. looking a little closer at our numbers amongst the other cities. Apologies, that looks a little smaller than it did on my own screen. But City of Kent has already originated over about $10 million worth of ask on the FlexFund. Now, at a rate of about 16% of the applicants getting the monies from the NDC, you're not quite going to have a sufficient amount of capital available but for investments from the City of Kent Council to then leverage back into the private marketplace. So there's been strong demand to date for loans from the region and from Kent. Businesses, you know, I hate saying this word because it's been over 2 years, but pandemic is here, and businesses are still recovering from it. There is a lot of fatigue when we go out and we talk to our community partners and technical assistants about talking about COVID-19 and the impacts on businesses, to the point where I think there might be some concern another program for COVID-19. However, it's casting a long shadow on people's balance sheets, and you have to consider that people have gone into debt to survive through the pandemic period. They might be higher interest rate debt. And so by the investment of the City of Kent's council decision here today, what you would be allowing for is a much lower interest rate than would be achievable per regular lending. So instead of 12%, which would be in a private market interest rate level, or an 8%, we're looking at 4% interest rate on a loan. The average loan right now from Kent to this Flex Fund is about $94,000 per business. And see if I'm missing a slide here. No. I would like to point out that in the City of Kent, most of the community is actually in census tracts, just going by land area, that are qualified census tracts. What is a qualified census tract? A qualified census tract are those where you see it's designated by the federal government of HUD, Cabinet Department, Housing and Urban Development. And that's where there's about 50% or more households have income less than 60% of area median income, or a poverty rate of 25%. Those census tracts are just automatically eligible for all sorts of spending out of the American Recovery Act dollars. So when it comes to the Flex Fund, if it's using federal monies, they don't even necessarily have to confirm an impact from COVID-19 if they are in those census tract areas. It is assumed that they will be that business will be operating in a place disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. And if you look at that map, you will notice something. Most of the Industrial Valley, most of the Pacific Highway, large portion of the Benson, Meeker, all of our historic downtown businesses, large swaths of our commercial areas where businesses are in qualified census tracts. So for those who might be wondering, why are we talking about a program that was set up as COVID-19 relief monies for businesses at this stage where the restrictions have been alleviated on staying open? There is still a need for access to capital, and then also restructuring your debt in a way that gets a business on a healthier path to recovery. And so we still see demand for it. So again, another way of thinking of what we're proposing here today is increasing your local community development financial institutions' capacity to lend. The things that are eligible under the final rules to expend federal dollars are loan loss reserve, so helping the fund perform adequately in order to get to the private lending it needs, helping to cover for Kent businesses in the Kent area a loan loss reserve rate of 10%. Interest rate buy down, I talked about that earlier, that would get you from 12% as identified what a typical loan for a similar type of credit rating for a business to get them down to 4%, and a loan fee buy down. So there won't be any fees charged to businesses that apply to the Flex Fund. So this achieves the objective of increasing the amount of capital available for Kent businesses. We will get regular reports on the impact of the loans, the demographics of the business owners that will be getting lending in Kent with the monies leveraged from the City of Kent's investment. And in future, and I think this is really crucial, and I think a key talking point is that we will be stipulating in the contract any unused monies. And I think after this loan fund expires, I expect there to still be monies available in the Flex Fund. People will be paying it back. That the CDFIs and NDC come back to City of Kent staff to create a strategic plan at that time to lend again per their mission. So our missions are very aligned with CDFIs, and under the observation we're not likely to open a bank within the city of Kent, the next best thing is to work with your CDFI partners and have them sort of wed them to the city of Kent to look at what we want to have done in future to continue to help lending in underserved communities. So we'll get regular reports on how it's been performing, and then we will also stipulate in future that those monies, we're not having them returned to us. I think that's a difference between what happened between the interim final rule and the final rule. We couldn't make a loan to the fund, but we could make eligible expenses we're eligible to purchase, and that being fungible on the NDC side of the ledger is enabling similar outcome, if I could team it that way.
So before you go any further, I want to, a lot of words there. So I want to have an example. So ABC company here in Kent, right? And if they qualify for this here, so can you just?
So here's the eligibility. They can either confirm an impact from COVID-19.
Okay.
They can be or a business whose owner are low or moderate income, 3-person household income below 65% area income. Okay. So they can testify that, you know, their income as a business owner is that. Or simply in any of those areas that are color-coded green, which is the vast majority of the city, you're in a qualified census tract, then you are also eligible. So those are some of the major eligibility criteria. So that will cover, I think, the vast majority of the small businesses that are 50 employees and less.
Yeah, do I need to fill out a form? It's kind of
there is an online portal, and that was more of the presentation we had earlier. I was coming to that later, but
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. The FlexFund, one of the reasons why it didn't win an award is it has a on-call technical assistance, on-call business assistance plans, on-call language support in 9 different languages, and of course we'll have to supplement locally with our partners locally to help people also fill out forms. But they've made it as painless as possible, I would think. Having taken, you know, the online portal myself, they've streamlined and made it easy to apply. And then additionally, there is this sort of on-call center of team of help to get people through forms and one of at least 9 languages. I think we'll still want some additional language if we, this is where I'm jumping ahead a little bit. If we look at the top 10 languages in Kent versus those provided by the FlexFund, for instance, they don't line up 100%. So we've identified, for instance, Punjabi, Dari, Somali, Ukrainian, and Samoan are some of the more prevalent languages in Kent as compared to maybe the state at large. And so we have partners that we've worked with in the past to provide language support, do translation, and we would do so again. And I think there's also a desire to work with a variety of local organizations, whether it's the Kent Chamber, Small Business Development Center, Kent Main Street Organization, Tabor 100, any organization that can help a business owner sit down, take out an application, and be qualified for a loan. So again, I think one of the things that's been very interesting or desirable from NDC to work with us as a city is that we have sort of the on-the-ground presence and the on-the-ground relationships. For instance, not that long ago, maybe 4 or 6 weeks ago, City of Seattle made a contribution with their ARPA dollars to the FlexFund. They immediately saw a boost, a double-digit boost in the number of applications, simply because more people trusted it when their local government funded it, and that boosts the credibility. And then we would expect a similar uptake of applications and a similar uptake of percentage of conversion rate once we're engaged with them and sort of co-marketing it. And that's one of the responsibilities in the contract for both parties.
Now, how do the ABC company made aware of this being available?
That's going to be something that, I'm looking at Michelle Wilmot here in the audience, we're going to have a communications plan, we're going to have a train-the-trainer operation, and we're going to have to frankly work it just like we did with the small business emergency grant and get the word out on the street. We're going to contract with local organizations to help promote the opportunity of the FlexFund. We're going to invite them in for training sessions, more than one, and we are going to explain how to go through the benefits of the program. This is my earlier slide here. Better understand the use cases for which the FlexFund really applies to a business, and work with those community partners to help navigate to the fund.
And my last question, I'm going to go to you, Councilmember Thomas. Even though it say call you Volo, but
What?
That's the name that's showing up here.
That's me.
So we have people who apply for small business, right? I mean, they have to go to small business application. So, I mean, I'm assuming you'll use some of that list of people who actually got business license, right?
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. We can definitely do all sorts of outreach on this. We have mayor sends out a newsletter once a week. But I think we also want to make sure that our partners in the city are helping get the word out.
Okay, Councilmember Thomas?
Thank you. Hey, Bill, will there be a deadline on filing for this?
Yes, the application just got extended to March of 2023.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question for Bill? Councilmember Troutner?
So do some of these businesses in Kent already have loans that they're working on paying back that you're aware of? Or?
Yes, and they might, that's why it's a case-by-case.
Right.
Working with them and having a loan officer from the appropriate CDFI. One of the things the portal does nicely is it understands from a simple questionnaire which business matches which CDFI partner best, so they can have direct technical assistance support to that loan fund.
So if you were a business and you had a higher loan that you're trying to pay back right now, could you apply for this and pay that loan back to get that lower rate?
Yes, the
or?
restructuring the debt for that lower rate is one of the main advantages that I was describing.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Councilmember Kaur?
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Bill, for this presentation. Can you go back a few slides,
Sure.
please? Right there.
Yeah.
Okay, here, this says that there's 98 applications in Kent.
That's correct.
Is that what we have received so far?
That's what the Flex Fund has so far received. 16 of them have been loaned, and we would expect additional loans to be made between now and March of 2023. And thanks to the investment in the capacity of the Flex Fund, there will be more funds available just for Kent, earmarked for Kent, that would help the CDFI loan officer make decisions around interest, creditworthiness, et cetera, to increase the conversion rate. So I have here, Kent's conversion rate is also already pretty high. As I pointed out earlier, the national average would be 1 in 18. Flex Fund is running ahead of that at 1 in 12. I think through an investment like this, you would see an even greater success rate of people who apply. Now, everyone who applies for a loan, CDFIs are not profits. They're not for-profit banking. They're nonprofits. If they determine from talking with an applicant or reviewing their application that they shouldn't take a loan, that would be bad for their business case, they don't make it. They're not trying to make a profit on it. They're trying to structure people out of higher interest rate loans or other debt, or people who have not maybe achieved any banking so far. There are businesses that operate without banks, that operate without federal help through all the COVID-19 period. And this would be their first opportunity to get onto an on-ramp of realizing the benefits of financing.
So follow up on that. So we received 98 applications and we're expecting many more. Is there going to be enough funding available for that?
So you'll notice, sorry, I'm jumping around my presentation a little bit here, but 1.65 million is not the full amount of the authorization in the mid-biennium budget. It's the first tranche under the eligible expenses, which I was starting to walk through. And I think this is a conservative number to make sure that we're within the top line level of the eligible expenses, which was this slide. It's coming here. So we would be, the amount of expenses that we're purchasing under the ARPA rules would be basically safely below that. And because it would enable borrowing of 4.67 million, you can see that the total projected lending on that slide here is 5.4 million. It's a little bit below. We're being conservative. We're going to see how it works between now and the next several months. They just extended the deadline. And I am also talking additionally, one of the things I wanted to share today with the NDC about, now the Flex Fund was set up without American Recovery Act monies, and it wasn't exactly tailored to the American Recovery Act guidelines when it was designed. There might be additional or different things that we'd want to do with CDFI partners between 1.65 million and 2.75 million. And so today's authorization is only a portion of the full budgeted amount for working with CDFIs at this time.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other question for Bill? Okay, when we see you again on this here,
This will go straight to full council next, I think on May 3rd, should you choose to support it.
Okay.
And just want, again, to your council member Carr's part on this slide, I kind of was jumping around, examining options for second tranche investment with CDFIs. So.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Good job as usual. Appreciate it, Bill.
Okay, thank you. Council. Are you, yeah.
Yep, we good. Okay, we're gonna move on to item number D on the agenda, and this is,
action on
yeah, yes, we do.
Yeah, Mr. President.
Yes. Can I have a motion, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to authorize the mayor to sign a grant agreement with National Development Council providing 1.65 thousand, did I say that right? 1,650,000 in Federal American Rescue Plan Act funds to Kent small businesses and nonprofit adversely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, subject to final agreement, terms and conditions acceptable of the Economic Community Development Director and City Attorney.
Second.
Motion and a second, in discussion.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
What did I say? 1,650,000?
There we go. I just want to make sure the number's right.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay, we got that.
Resecond?
We all good. We got a motion and a second, right? Okay. In discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Let the record show unanimous pass. Thank you. Okay, now, item D on our agenda here, resolution expressing intent to explore deannexation of the bridges. It says Matt Gilbert, but I'm assuming, there we go. Hey, Matt,
Hey, Matt.
Good evening, everyone.
how you doing?
I'm recovering. I'm getting better. You can hear my voice is still a little froggy tonight, so I chose to stay home. So thanks for indulging me
All righty, all yours.
in my home office. So it's good to see you all here. I am going to present a little bit of information that might be somewhat redundant to those of you who have seen it in the ECDC meetings. But before you, in this meeting and then tonight at council is a resolution that will kind of officially kick off the effort to de-annex the Bridges neighborhood and also have the city of Auburn annex that. And really what we're doing is officially committing to exploring that effort. Now, as you know, we've been in that kind of informally in that exploratory mode for some time amongst city staff, and mayors have talked about it as well. We've had quite a number of meetings. But this is the opportunity, I think, for the council to kind of put your fingerprints on that officially. Now, the same resolution was passed last night by Auburn's council. So this is a joint effort where we're being very public and very deliberate about announcing that both cities intend to explore this, hopefully with the intention of completing it as we kind of work through that exploration. So I'm a little bit, I'm not seeing the slides. Kim, there you go, thank you. So let's go ahead and go to the first slide. So I'm going to just hurry through some background. I've got about 8 slides here just to make sure that everyone is caught up. So if you'll recall, the Bridges is about 155 acres. You see it on the map there. It's south of the contiguous part of the city on 124th. It was annexed in 1987 to be a water reservoir. That was back before the city acquired water rights, working with Tacoma Utilities, where they now take water from the Green River, and Kent gets a bunch of that. So we decided this Bridges property was no longer necessary as a water reservoir. And so in I think it was 2004 and 2005 that we sold the property for development and subsequently approved a PUD there. There are, we can go to the next slide, please, because I'm forgetting the number, 386 single-family homes were constructed there. After the city had sold this, the city of Auburn had annexed the Lee Hill area, which is all around the site. So what we have is an island of Kent surrounded by Auburn. And I think even from those early days, there was a lot of talk amongst leadership and even amongst staff that Bridges neighborhood probably would make sense to become part of Auburn. And so there's been interest expressed from the Bridges neighborhood. There's just, it's kind of a logical, it makes sense that that would be part of Auburn, given its surrounds, given its surrounding neighborhoods. So in 2019, we started talking about this with the Auburn staff. There's been a lot of documents exchanged, a lot of exploration of utilities, the condition of the roads, the condition of the storm ponds. We've also had quite a bit of engagement with Oak Point. You'll recall that Oak Point had filed a comprehensive plan amendment for their site, which is about 13 acres at the south end of the Bridges. They ended up withdrawing that because of the talks between Kent and Auburn. They understand that this is moving towards becoming Auburn, and so they've really focused their efforts in talking with the city of Auburn about what will happen with that piece of land in the future. So there's a lot of questions to answer there between Oak Point and Auburn. So there's kind of a three-way discussion that's happening. So what the big, I think, the big thing that we need to do next, if we can go to the next slide, please, is to talk about, to talk with the Bridges neighborhood directly. We have had some contact with them. That was back 2 years ago now, when that comprehensive plan amendment was proposed. We did a community meeting. There were, we talked about a lot of things at that meeting, but what we're hoping for is an expression of support or not, or some sort of a positive statement from the neighborhood regarding their, that summarizes their feedback and gets their position on the annexation and de-annexation. I'll go through a couple of the issues now that have kind of, that we've identified as things that need to be hammered out as we move forward. As I said, we've been talking since 2018. There have been a lot of questions on infrastructure. The Kent's provided maintenance records to the Auburn Public Works folks. They've been very diligent in trying to understand what they would be annexing. And so we've been working very closely with them as they've asked a lot of questions about the condition of the roads, the water, all the utilities and storm ponds and such. Let's go to the next slide, please. So a little bit about the future development. I touched on it a moment ago. It's pretty complicated because this whole neighborhood was constructed under a planned unit development. That's kind of a special development approval that's approved in the Kent City Code. Auburn doesn't have anything analogous to that, and so they're having to work through how they will sort of view this under their code, and then what would be allowed at that 13 acres at the south end of the site. So as I said, the real discussions right now are between Auburn and Oak Point, which I think is appropriate given that, Auburn constituents surround the site, and that we hope that this will move towards annexation. So next slide, please. Let's see, I think we kind of covered this. There's the moving parts, there's complexities involved with the annexation. Auburn's had questions about the open space. There is I think about half of this site is open space. You see the green area there on the slide. That's mostly protected wetlands and buffers. That's something that the city of Kent currently holds the ownership of most of that. And could I view the slide again, please, Kim? It disappeared on me. Thank you. As I said, engagement with residents will be important here. There's also an annexation process that we're working on sort of a work plan. I'm working with my counterpart in Auburn. It's really an unusual thing for one city to de-annex and another city to annex a piece of ground. Often annexations happen between cities and counties, but this is sort of a strange one. But it's allowed in the state law. We're just having to work through that process. Of course, there's always questions when you do an annexation about transferring assets, infrastructure, paper records, land approvals and such. So these are all kind of complicating factors that also need to be worked through. Next slide, please. Okay, so I covered this a bit, but resolution, I'm encouraging you to forward this resolution or through the motion tonight to the full council, like where you will hear it again. Again, this will officially kick off our exploration process with the city of Auburn. As I said, they passed the same thing last night, Auburn City Council. Then we'll during the spring and summer, we'll engage with the Bridges HOA to get their feedback and hopefully a motion from them to support. We'll continue to determine the cost of service. We'll do a kind of an overview of what an annexation would mean. You know, there's police, fire, garbage, you know, other utility services that we'll do a nice contrast and compare for the residents there so they can make an informed decision. We'll continue to engage with Oak Point. Mostly, as I said, that's happening between them and Auburn. And of course, the city of Kent will continue to support Auburn as they evaluate the infrastructure and develop their policy moving forward. So that is all I have. Again, I encourage you to adopt this resolution so we can be very public that we're moving forward, and we have a lot of work to do, and we're looking forward to completing it. So thank you very much. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for powering through this here. I can tell you're not feeling good, but glad to have you here. So thank you. Councilmember Thomas?
Thank you, Mr. President. So, Matt, I've been following this for years, and what I'm trying to determine, there's probably, a population of at least 1,000 people there? You got 365 homes, 2.5.
We haven't counted. I would guess on average you got 2.5 people per home or so maybe shy of 1,000, but yeah, it's a good number.
And the city of Kent has been providing police protection, I believe, perhaps even fire service. I'm not sure how Versa from Auburn enters into this, or have we been doing that?
This is Puget Sound Regional.
It is Puget Sound. So, and garbage and water provided by the city of Kent?
That's correct. Garbage, yes. The water, I believe, is Kent. And I don't know. There's a water and sewer. There's some shared responsibility between Auburn and Kent for water and sewer.
I believe my daughter lived there for a couple of years, and she was getting utility bills from the city of Kent. So I'm assuming that. So here's my question. We're giving all this land, beautiful land, to the city of Auburn. What do we get in return? Are we going to get part of the valley where the Carpentitos, south of Carpentitos along there, or some other area, or nothing?
We haven't discussed we haven't discussed a trade.
So there's no financial, what's the word I'm looking for? Remuneration for this at all? Oh, here comes Pat.
Well, I don't.
Okay, he's going to lawyer up now. Okay.
Yeah, this is not something Matt and I have been working on this quite closely. We haven't discussed this, but we can't look at this as a sale of property or transfer. It's a transfer of jurisdiction. So what we're getting is relief from having to provide service. And one of the issues that we have is certainly with police service, it's not contiguous to the city. So it's hard for Kent PD to go in there because they're removed from the city. And also there has been some confusion from the residents. The residents' addresses show Auburn, but they're part of Kent.
Correct.
And so some community members don't even know that there's members of the city. And so those are two issues. The other issue is that under the Growth Management Act, this is in the urban growth area of Auburn, and it really should, under state law, be Auburn.
I understand.
So yes, there is no transfer of money.
But could there be?
Should there be?
Could there be?
No. I don't think if we're going to demand money from Auburn, they're going to say, no, we can't take this on, because they're taking on, when they take this property, they're taking on all kinds of service obligations. So it will cost them to just take over the property, will relieve us of the issue of having to care for the neighborhood.
That word transfer is interesting because we're not trading anything then, we're just giving them.
Well, the only thing that we own are the roads. So
Right.
technically speaking, all the property out there is owned by somebody else. So we only have an obligation and an expense to handle the roads, which don't pay us back, as we know. And we have an obligation to provide services. We don't profit really from the garbage service.
No.
And so the expenditure is really, emergency calls have been difficult out there in that, I mean, our police respond, but it's not easy. They're a ways away when they're not contiguous to the city of Kent.
What's confusing is when you drive up there, every street sign has a little City of Kent emblem on it,
Right.
and yet it's Auburn.
Yeah.
I mean, it is
Well,
confusing.
the address says Auburn, but it's Kent.
Correct.
So it's totally.
Which is really weird, you know. Well, I still have I don't see the benefit of Kent very much, except the relief that you talked about,
Yeah.
and that's something to behold. On the other hand, I see Auburn obtaining 1,000 more people or whatever to add to their population and decrease ours. So I'm just looking for something that would be a fair and equitable trade, if you call it.
I think the way you have to look at it is Auburn is also gaining a lot of obligation.
I
to
understand.
provide fire service, police service, make sure that they are responsible for road maintenance, for the maintenance of the sewer, for maintenance of, there are some water retention ponds that we are maintaining. There's actually a dam out there that Public Works has to maintain.
Right at the edge, right by 124th intersection?
I think so, yeah. So there's a lot of maintenance requirements that are a cost to the city. And so I think when all is said and done, it's more of making sure that making sure that we have contiguous borders. Everybody knows where they live, and our police department knows what their obligation is, and it just seems to be just a logical approach to dealing with this.
So where's Oak Point in all this? I mean, they obviously are looking for a solution so that they can continue to develop that one particular corner down there too that we've talked about one time when they applied for some zoning down there or for a little AM PM kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'm not sure exactly what Oak Point's position is on who has jurisdiction, but we know that Oak Point wants to develop their property, and they have been very gracious to us, putting the brakes on their development so that we can get this all figured out.
Well, they really can't go ahead at this point until they get an okay from us or Auburn, once it becomes Auburn.
Right.
So, okay. Well, I think that's enough questions
I
for
think
me.
at the end of the day, I mean, Councilman Tom, I don't know if you remember some of the calls that we was on, about a year ago. I mean, where people was really, at least from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, the people kind of were leaning toward they wanting to be in Auburn. And I think at the end of the day, I think the people who live in the area, they will get a chance to provide feedback on where they want to live. And like I say, growth management, they are in Auburn, and I think if the people want to be part of Auburn, then to me, I think it's okay. And Oak Point, they is on idle. They're not going to do anything until one of the jurisdiction takes over. Then, rightfully so, they can do what they want. But for me, I remember those conversations and those calls from the people. And if that's where it end up where they want to be, then I'll say so be it. So.
And Bill, the children, want to interrupt because you know this better than anybody probably. The children go to Auburn School District. Mm-hmm. There you go. Okay.
Yep. Marta, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, so our best friends live in that neighborhood, and they absolutely consider themselves to be in Auburn. Their address is Auburn. Yeah. And that disconnect between their address and the city streets being owned by Kent also creates problems with just like delivery and like their addresses are always screwed up in GPS and everything. So it really is, I think, just like it's something we have to look at.
It's time.
Doing just for the right thing to do.
Community.
Yep.
We'll take those Kent signs down if we have to. It's okay. Any other council member have any comments? Are we good? Good. All right. If that's it, I'm going to ask for a motion, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to adopt resolution number 2038, expressing the council's intent to explore the deannexation of the Bridges neighborhood in order for the property to be annexed to the city of Auburn pursuant to RCW 3510-217-2.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
1 second.
Yes, sir.
I just want to note, Councilmember Michaud had her hand up. And so before you take your motion, you might want to check in.
I'm so sorry. I can barely see you now. Please, Councilman Michaud, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Council President. I did not have my hand up, so.
Okay. All right. All right. All right, but thank you, Councilmember Michelle. Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Let the record show unanimous pass. I think our ECDC director need to swim in your own lane, okay? All right, let's move on to item number E, like a IT thing here. So, Tara Duckworth, hi.
Good evening, Council President Boyce and council members. I'm Tara Duckworth. I'm the Deputy Director of Information Technology, and I have two motions, proposals, contracts to bring before you today. The first one is OMNIA Partners. It's public agencies cooperative agreement. It was recently extended through March of 2023 and has options to renew through March of 2025. We use this agreement to purchase the police Telestaff workforce management system through Kronos Incorporated. The total contract cost, prior purchases have been $137,000, combined with anticipated purchases through 2025 of another $99,000 exceed the $100,000. So I'm seeking council authorization to purchase using this contract through 2023 or later if so negotiated.
Any question for Tara? Seeing, I'm going to ask for a motion, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move to authorize the city's Information Technology Department to purchase products and services through Kronos Incorporated under the terms and cooperative purchasing agreement number 18220, Cobb County, Georgia, entered into on March 18, 2019 through the OMNIA Partners Public Agencies Cooperative through March 17, 2023, or such later contract term as the cooperative may negotiate if those purchases are within the city's established budget, and ratify all prior acts consistent with this motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Making sure Councilmember Show don't have her hands up, and she don't. Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record show unanimous pass. Thank you.
Okay.
Tara.
Thank you. The next one is to purchase technology, supplies, materials, equipment, and software through cooperative purchasing agreement between CDW, LLC, and the King County Directors Association. These purchases will be within established budgets and made during the term of the agreement. We use this agreement to purchase laptops and monitors and associated accessories. We upgrade approximately 25% of our deployed devices annually, and we're currently looking to purchase 200 monitors this quarter at a cost of $58,000. We've had prior contract purchases over $776,000 over the last 4 years, and I'm seeking council authorization to purchase using this new contract in effect through February 28th of 2023 and could be extended as far as February 28th of 2026 or later to purchase equipment.
Any question for Tara?
I have no monitor I could give you.
Okay.
All right, Mr. President.
Yes.
Yes, I move to authorize the city's Information Technology Department to purchase technology supplies, materials, equipment, and software through cooperative purchasing agreement number AEPA-0022-G if those purchases are within established budgets and made during the term of the cooperative agreement, which is currently in effect through February 28, 2023, but may be extended through February 28, 2026 or later.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Let the record show unanimous pass. That's the last thing we have on our item for public safety. So we're going to take a break to 5 o'clock to workshop. Meeting is adjourned.